Please, can I go now?
Soon, Mr. Linkman, I promise. I promise. Why were you hiding? Did something frighten you?
Ein Geist.
A ghost? You saw a ghost, a bad spirit?
I hear this thing. Oh, ein Schrei, it screams so loud. I cover my ears, but still I hear this scream.
So you hid?
After 10 minutes, I look again and I see a light in my house.
In the empty building?
And then, bang! The gun shoots in my house.
Could Dr. McBride have followed you that night?
You can't possibly think that Robert...
He's a man with a temper, and he was out walking alone. He knew about you and Oliver.
What do you mean he knew?
We found a letter Oliver had sent to him more than a week ago.
Poor Robert.
Dr. McBride lied to us, Miss Brewster.
You've taken against him, haven't you? Well, I don't care what you think. He's not a killer.
When you and Oliver quarreled, did you cry out or scream?
I was angry with Oliver, not hysterical.
Did you hear a scream?
No.
Nothing, Miss Brewster?
Well, there was something behind me. I took it for a cat. One of those blood-curdling shrieks the females make when they mate.
A blood-curdling scream right outside your door.
Told you. I sleep sound.
Let's see. Antimony to gloss the coat, arsenic to brighten the eye, ginger to make a dull horse prance, and chloral hydrate to calm down the wild one.
Everyone legally prescribed.
By what veterinarian?
There have been a few.
Anyone called Robert McBride?
Not as I recall.
Chloral hydrate was used 2 nights ago to murder a girl.
Not by me, it weren't.
I'm taking a personal interest in you, Mr. Kern. This old girl here, for instance. I want to be there when you auction her off as a filly.
You can't prove nothing.
I don't need proof. Men get lynched for horse doctoring long before they get to trial. Did Constable Wicken find you out? Did he catch you red-handed that night?
No. What do you take me for?
A liar, for one thing. You weren't asleep. You couldn't have been, not through a bone-chilling scream.
It was the mad woman.
Mrs. Eakins?
I never heard her so bad as she was that night.
Her husband says she was in the asylum.
She is. They took her there next morning.
If you heard the scream, you must have heard the shot that followed.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you investigate?
I was tired. See, I never really woke up.
Scream followed by a gunshot, not 50 yards from your bed, and you expect me to believe you rolled over and went back to sleep.
Look, I figured maybe she found a gun and killed the old sod. Or he killed her. Either way, it weren't my business. And frankly, neither one of them is worth losing sleep over.
Detective Murdoch, sir. Madam.
Yes, Detective. How can we help you?
Why wasn't I told that Mrs. Eakins was here the night Constable Wicken died?
I never said she wasn't.
You didn't tell me she'd gone to the asylum the next morning.
Madness in the family is a private shame.
What possible bearing could it have on the suicide of a policeman?
It was murder.
But the coroner's verdict
It was wrong. Mrs. Eakins was heard screaming that night.
She was always screaming.
She hallucinates, Detective. Her mind creates hellish apparitions that terrify her.
Or she saw something that really was terrifying.
Impossible. She was locked upstairs in the attic bedroom.
You kept her prisoner?
She locked herself in. That's why we called the ambulance. She hadn't eaten or drunk in 3 days.
She was delusional. Said we were poisoning her food.
I can't tell you how relieved I am she's gone from here.
Now, Augusta.
There was nothing wrong with Father's heart before she came here. And she only married him for his money.
Why would you say that, Mrs. Curran?
She's a 24-year-old girl married to a wealthy old man. It may be legal, but it's harlotry.
Were you here, Cuddy, when the ambulance came for Mrs. Eakins?
She looked a fright. Her hair all tangled and her nightgown bloody. She could hardly stand up. She was that weak.
She had nothing to eat or drink?
Just the wash water in her jug. She made sick in the basin. The chamber pot was full.
Nailed shut from the outside. She was trying to escape.
Was the wardrobe at the door when Mrs. Eakins was taken away?
Yes, sir.
Open up, pig! Stepmother, open, please!
Sorry, you stupid little tart! What the hell do you think you're doing here?
Following police orders, Mr. Eakins. So unless you'd like to spend the night in jail, I suggest you apologize. What was Mrs. Eakins wearing when she was admitted?
A nightgown. It was a disgrace.
Why is that?
It was torn, muddy, and covered in blood. I burnt it myself.
Will she be able to answer questions?
Not if you want any sensible answers. She might improve after the operation.
Surgery?
The doctors ordered a hysterectomy. The womb is the source of most female mental problems. Hence our word hysteria. Here we are.
What is this place?
Our hydrotherapy room. Hot water for agitation, iced water for hysteria.
Which one is Mrs. Eakins?
This way. Mrs. Eakins.
Did the doctor sedate her?
She was extremely agitated. She bit a male attendant. To test her for syphilis.
What drug did he give her?
Chloral hydrate. That and laudanum are what we commonly use. Wake up, Mrs. Eakins. There's a policeman here to see you.
That won't be necessary, Matron. Please wait by the door.
But the doctor...
Is not in charge of this investigation. Mrs. Eakins. And Detective William Murdoch.
Police.
Yes, that's right.
Please. Please.
What is it you want, Mrs. Eakins?
Help me.
Mr. Murdoch, I brought your tea.
Just a second, Mrs. Kitchen. Come in.
I baked some of that nut loaf you like. I thought it might bring you cheer on a sad day.
Liza's picture.
I told you I'd have it back to you by her death day. Shall I stand it on the night table?
No, I'll take it.
Now, don't you go brooding all on your own. You should have life around you on a day like this.
Thank you, Mrs. Kitchen. Goodbye, my love. Morning, Julia.
William?
Am I disturbing you?
No, never.
You look lovely this morning.
Thank you. Was there something? I mean, not that there needs to be something.
Erotomania.
I beg your pardon?
The Eakins woman, it's her diagnosis. I'd like your opinion.
Well, supposedly it refers to men and women who are tormented by sexual obsessions.
Supposedly.
It seldom applies to men. In practice, most erotomaniacs are troublesome wives whose husbands want rid of them.
Surely not most.
Well, all it takes is a convincing lie and 2 doctors' signatures.
I went to the asylum last night. The women I saw there were in terrible distress, but they definitely seemed mad.
Well, so would you if you'd been locked up in a rat-infested prison, drugged with opiates, subjected to painful and dehumanizing therapies, then strapped down and gagged if you protested.
Mrs. Eakins' husband did seem glad to be rid of her.
The whole family, by the sound of it.
She thought someone had killed her child and was trying to poison her.
Perhaps someone was.
Wake up, Mrs. Eakins. It's nearly supper time. You can't sleep all day like this. It's against our doctrine. Let me know when the doctor arrives. He's giving her too much chloral.
Hello, sir.
George? What's going on?
Mother, there you are. You see, my dear, I told you he wouldn't let you down.
Oh, I already knew that.
Miss Weston?
I offered to take care of Miss Weston myself, but for some incomprehensible reason, she insisted on waiting for you.
You've been so kind, Inspector. But Detective Murdoch is the man I need.
Well, you're a dark horse, Murdoch.
When my mate got done for, you were the only one who gave a toss. So I'm gonna help you, because he's your mate. But only this once, so then we're square, right?
Right.
Now, I've got something good going on. I don't want to queer it, so it's better not go back on Lady Jane.
Marianne worked for her?
Yeah. She was one of the girls. Kept herself to herself mainly. She had a steady group at times, but all the swells liked her because she could have nice manners and put on airs.
When did you last see her?
The morning she died. One of her regulars turned up at the school. Got us out of bed. Told Lady Jane he wanted to buy her a contract.